to record.
Okay, otherwise, Mr. Chiganda, what from the two, it seems the tree are better than the coffee because of the terrain of our land, but probably we need to visit. There was only one plot you talked about of Mr. Yusuf and who?
Yusuf and
Chionga.
And Chionga, isn't that the only plot which is not ours?
Yeah, I think.
Either we negotiate with them and we buy them if we have the money, we buy it, or we leave it out in our planting project.
Yeah.
Missions members, before we can go to the next item. From Baiman, my ambassador from Bundibujo. You are lost.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I just joined Mr. Chiganda to say that land is not really appropriate for coffee, the way we saw it. And even for the tree plantation, I don't think we should look at it of more of a commercial thing, because by virtue of the land itself, the trees will take quite long to be fit for selling. So unless we are putting it maybe to keep the land busy, to avoid encroachers, but looking at business, it is still not appropriate for trees as for business. It can only be a long-term investment, really. The land looks to be too rocky for trees even to grow faster. Thank you.
Shukran.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have lost the secretary himself. Hope Sendaula, since he's recording, probably we shall take note, because I don't see Mr. Senyonji online again. It's off. So what's the next item now we can go to? Mr. Sendaula, any reactions, anything can say about what people have discussed?
Thank you so much, Chairperson. My comment, I actually was going to talk about the land, because Mr. Baiman, being a man from Bundibujo with those rocks, he has a very good experience in terms of how to manage such types of land. And also think when you go for tree planting, it would be okay, just because it can take us like between 10 to 15 years to come up with some good trees, but we can still have something that we can put there. The challenge I notice, we don't have, the place is not so much accommodative. We could have gotten somebody and we put over goat rearing or chicken, something that an item that can give us money, like maybe half a year, you get some money, you sell off the goats, but we don't have somebody who is willing to stay there. Even if you are going to get somebody, a higher person to stay there, the place is really not so much, hasn't gotten, unless these days there are other people who have gone there to construct houses. By the time we were there, it was not accommodative to human beings. But I think farming could be better than planting something. Farming in form like goat rearing and something like that. Then the other thing of the supplies, we didn't attend the meeting actually. And I also suggest, I agree with Hajat Kakumba, that these people of the board should know that we should benefit from our project. We can't see somebody, for example, let me use an external supplier. It's very unfair to bring in an external supplier to supply school, start getting that little profit that we would have gotten from it at this stage when people have suffered a lot, they have sacrificed, we have put in our time, we put in our ideas, and then we just give somebody off whatever you have been getting. Most of the private schools, and we discussed with some yesterday, most of the private schools, if you check Muyingo's schools, they say that even supplying the simplest thing is given to the family, because this is why the business was designed. You come up with a project to maximize the profits. You can't come to a stage where you're going to get profits and then you start giving your profits to some other external person to come in. Me, what I'm looking at is Chira Junior School should have a very clear monitoring tool. Like if somebody brings in the food, is it the quality controller? Is it the right quality? Is it the quantity that we asked for? Because whichever person we shall bring in, that person might need somebody to come in and supervise. Then the other thing of the tin, because they talked about the tin. True, we need to get somebody who has a tin. And if I'm going to use my name, then I'll have, of course, may I have a tin. I don't know that the tin I use as an individual is the same tin companies use. Because somebody was telling me, no, it's not the same thing that they use. There's something I need first, someone can help us do some research about that. Otherwise, we need to make our paperwork clear. That is very true. Paperwork has to be clear in that we avoid auditors coming up to disturb us when we are doing that process of auditing. Otherwise, that's what I want to talk about, Mr. Mukose. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mukose, we have types. There is tin individual and tin non-individual. So the one for individual is the personal tin, and then for the company, it's not individual tin. You can't use it as a company tin.
Yeah, that's okay. You want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to ask, can't I supply as an individual?
I told Mr. Sendaula should supply as an individual, but on behalf of Mudefa. That's what's the way forward, the best.
So he can probably use his own team.
He's using his team, that's okay, because the advantage with the teachers, our teams, you already automatically, you are paying taxes, you pay as you earn. So you are tax compliant, you won't have issues. The challenge with Mudefa, if you give Mudefa a team, Revenue Authority is going to track Mudefa from the beginning, and they can make even pay 500 million. So you cannot get Mudefa a team now. That's what IBS is going through. You don't need a team for Mudefa to do business, because once you introduce Mudefa into business, you are causing problems for yourself. So we keep silent about Mudefa. We go with Mr. Sendaula because he's already tax compliant. All of us are tax compliant as individuals because we are paying as you earn. There are so many things we pay. Withholding tax, indirectly we don't know, but we are paying. You pay VAT, so already we are tax compliant. So Mr. Sendaula doesn't need another team. His own team can work comfortably and he can present papers as a special supplier. There's no problem.
So he can get the papers knowing that he can be able to use the team.
Yeah, that's why I said if revenue deducts any money from him, that's why he needs benefit from his supply, such that he can be in position to meet whether if revenue wants some money for either withholding tax, he already has benefiting from his supplies. So he can manage to pay for that.
Okay.
Rather than Mudefa will come up with so many other.
Okay, Chairman. Yeah, I was saying, I wanted to say something, that when he's making the paperwork, he must use his real names, not any other name. It should be his real names under which the tin number is assigned.
I think that is understood.
Understood, though yesterday he's working on that. So he has to design. That's why I told you we needed to design, because we have a board meeting. I wanted him to design very fast, but yesterday the paper I brought, it was basically to remove Mudefa from our books as suppliers, because by governance principle, we removed the Mudefa.
Yeah, we worked.
So that's what we did yesterday.
But am I allowed to ask a question? Yes?
You can ask Kajat.
Yes, because thank you so much, Chairperson. From Mr. Chiganda's submission, he was like, Mr. Sendaula made some profits and gave to us, and I think Mr. Chiganda gave them to Madame Sarah. Maybe.
Yes.
I didn't understand that well. Is Mr. Sendaula supplying on behalf of Mudefa? Did we give him a go ahead as a person? I don't know. My thinking was that why much as he's representing Mudefa, but this is his own small business. Yes.
It has two ways. For the start of the business, he's doing it on behalf of Mudefa, but he can take all the profit. That was my thinking. For the start, because he's starting to work on our behalf. He's meeting so many costs. I didn't expect him to give Hajat Sar any money. But
Absolutely.
I think Mr. Sendaula did already. That's why I think he's been stressed, because whenever they invite him, he already gave out the profits, but he's being called every day to do some supplies. So initially in the meeting, it looks as if Mudefa is doing. But for now, it's Mr. Sendaula doing almost 80% is Mr. Sendaula. But because we have given him as Mudefa to do on our behalf, we are shareholders, though we've not given him capital. We shall reach a time when we say Mudefa brings 10 million to push in Mr. Sendaula's project. That now we agree that Mr. Sendaula given you 10 million, you'll take 40%, we take the 60. To me, that was my thinking. Otherwise, right now, it's actually Mr. Sendaula, not as Mudefa. He was not supposed to give us money, but I think in his thinking initially, he thought he should be remitting monies to us. But because for the beginning, he can't. To me, we just wanted to use him to secure some supplies, but when he's doing the business.
So I think we need to have that very clear, Chairperson, probably in form of an agreement that much as is going there on behalf of Mudefa, but at the moment, he's doing it as himself, because he's looking out for the capital. So it will be unfair for him to look out for the capital, to move up and down, go this way, do this, and then at the end of the day, Mudefa expects some little profits from him. I don't know people's views, but for me, that is my view. And as I was listening to the Chairperson, I believe he's also moving in the same direction. Maybe for future purposes, we can have that as an agreement and say in these years, or 3 or 2, we are saying Mr. Sendaula is doing it as personal, and as Mudefa gets money and the numbers increase, then we can come in, of course, by giving him capital and looking at the percentage shares.
That would be my best if we all agree. I can speak.
Okay, there is a time when Mr. Sendaula was very stuck and he wanted some money. And they agreed, and we gave him 600,000, which he returned. Half of that money when we went to give that surveyor.
Can you start again?
What I'm saying is that there is a time when Mr. Sendaula was stuck and didn't have money, yet people wanted food stuffs at Chida Junior School. And I went to Mr. Kadu, and I remember you also signed. We got some 600 and we gave it to him, and he used that money to buy some food stuffs together with his money. And part of that money I was saying is that is the money that we spent when we went to Mukono. Remember, we hired the surveyor, and then we also incurred some transport costs that we used. And then the rest of the money I deposited it back to the bank. So that's why Mr. Sendaula gave that profit back to Mudefa after using the other 600,000 shillings. But yeah, that is what it was.
Okay, then that's okay. If Mudefa is bringing in some money, like and Hajat gave in, and we agree.
I'm not saying it is bringing in, because the money we gave him, we returned it together with that profit. But there isn't any other money I have given him as Mudefa, no.
I think Mr. Sendaula, I get the way to go forward. That if you are using your capital, Mudefa for the time being won't demand much. But in case you say you need 5 million from Mudefa, then there should be some written agreement within the Sums, and probably I get to know me and Mr. Senyonyi, the people involved, so that to give you a head and we agree on something that if you make 1 million at the end, because businesses, you need to analyze, you do at the end of the term, because 1 point you make profits, 1 point you make losses, and we are doing together. We need to be with you so that you don't get stressed, you don't get annoyed for doing too much when you're benefiting less. We don't want that. We want the business to grow as
Yes,
a
Chair.
group.
Can I say something also?
You can't.
On this point, by the way, what I realized the other time when I was asking someone from Mr. Chiganda, because from our last meeting we had agreed that we go secure that position of supplying food stuff to school. And when I got the first order, it was a rush program, so rushing that we couldn't have the time to go to, because our money is of Mudefa. I need first go to the bank, sign, then you come up with this. Yet the challenge we have with Chira Jr., that young man who is giving us orders has failed to master how much food they need in a given week or in 2 weeks or in a month. Because at first, the good thing at first, he asked me for some orders which were amounting to 4 million, 4.3. That was and that's why we made some profits. By the way, in supplying foodstuffs, if you supply so many quantities at once, remember the transportation issues are going to be reduced. Other things are going to be reduced. You end up getting some little salary. But that young man, like these last 2 days, last 2 weeks, he called me on some Wednesday. Kids have come back. These kids are eating a lot from this lockdown. Give us some 2 bags. I told him, you tell me the entire package you need for the term to end. He said, two are going to be enough. After 3 days, he said, I miscalculated. And whenever he says that, he tells you when the time is not there. And now going to Mudefa and then getting the checks becomes hard. But sometimes I have some money on me and I immediately buy. But the issue of sharing, when I got that profit, I said, okay, I think it was like 300 something, 300. I said, let me get some 200. I give it to Mudefa because we came in as Mudefa. Actually, me, I didn't come in as Sendaula initially because the meeting told me I do business, but on behalf of Mudefa. And that's why I gave out that money. But we can still, because I'm looking at the end of the term analysis. When you check the entire term, you find the profits are not too many because of that staggered way of asking for orders from school. I wish the school, Mr. Mokose, if you can talk that young man to master the way these children eat, then it can make us good in terms of not making profits, not making losses, especially in the transportation. But still, I agree. I can get my name. I'll use my name, but I feel I need to give some little money to Mudefa in case we get some profits. That's what I have in my. That's what I have in me because I'm doing on behalf of Mudefa. Thank you so much.
Alhamdulillah, I think we are almost on the same page. What Mr. Sendaula is saying, what Ajat has said, Mr. Chiganda, we're on the same page that we shall be sharing some little, but you are running the business, as Mr. Sendaula, quietly on behalf of Mudefa. But in case the business grows, where we need supplies of 30 million a term, you won't manage the money. Therefore, Mudefa has to come in and boost you with 15 million so that you don't get stuck. And with the ISA I'm going to handle, I always tell them at school, write for me the requirements for 2 weeks. But I think most people, the way they want to cheat is one way of cheating to do some cheating, get something so that you don't track. So I've seen, it's very common at Chira, even including the teacher, there is a way they make, this is urgent, because they know you are not there, so that they take advantage of something. So that one I'm trying to sort out. I told the teacher last week, I need all APOs done in time. Finally, all LPO is done in time. We shall know what we need for whether uniform or the what, rather than they bring emergency things. And ISA has that problem. And Dr. Asfa has worked with him, is not in our books these days. So we are sorting him out. For the future, inshallah, it will be handled. So can we go to the next item, since we are done with that? Secretary? Is Secretary there? Yeah, he's there.
Yeah. The next item is obviously, I think
we have minutes. We have minutes for reviewing.
We didn't have minutes for reviewing. It's not on the
Okay.
item. Mhm.
By the way, Chair, my battery is running down and we don't have electricity. I'm the host. I request Mr. Byman, in case I get off,
You can
continue
make me
for
the
host
host.
program.
You make me the host so that for
Okay.
me I'm okay. Though my battery is, you can make me the host so that we don't close when people don't know. So can
Yes.
we go to the next item?
I've made you
Yeah,
the host.
shukran. Shukran, Chair. Shukran, Mr. Sendaula. So can we go to the next item, Mr. Senyonjo?
The next item, you've talked about projects. I don't know if there's anything to that to do with projects. So we've got way forward. Though we had prayer communication, then projects and the way forward.
I think we need a brief from Mukono from Mr. Chiganda because the brief was on WhatsApp. We didn't take minutes, we didn't record it. So we need now a recording of what transpired between the lady and so far. So Mr. Chiganda was there. I think Sheikh Mbuga is not here.
Jimukos will also be recorded.
Yeah,
You record.
I'll request Mr. Senda, I'll talk about that, if it's okay with him.
It's okay, Mr. Members. I can brief about, because I was part of the team that went to Mukono. The summary bit of that entire program, I realized that our land actually is no longer our land. First, we have the titles, but the actual land is not ours. When we reached there, that lady was very calm. For me, the way I thought she was going to react towards us wasn't the same way she was reacting. She was very calm. The chairperson was around. Chairperson and some other elders, some 2-3 elders, and one of, I think, one of his boys, one of her boys.
Can you mute yourself?
And one of her boys. But the conversation was so perfect. We had contributions. The chairperson called that gentleman who sold to us on phone and was put in loudspeaker. I don't remember his name. But the man said so many things. He was blaming us why we couldn't use our land, why we had taken long without using our land. Yet he sold to us about some 10 years back. And first we didn't comment, we didn't say anything, we didn't comment because we didn't want him to think that we are around nearby. Because the chairperson tried to make sure like he's alone and nobody is hearing. But was blaming, was telling the chairperson, those Navisunsa people, how comes they have taken this time without using their land? But to his surprise, they told him, as we were speaking, there was another group, either his son who sold to that group that was also claiming part of that land. When we reached down there, we went and surveyed that land. We had our own surveyor, by the way. When we reached that site, the woman was showing us how those other people had taken part of it. They had surveyed half of the land, including some graveyards that belong to that woman, were taken by the other people, some other group that is claiming. So that same piece of land has three, has Mudefa, has the owners with the titles, has that other group that had come in with their surveyors, and then it had the woman, the lady, who is also saying it is her land. So I saw there was a lot of confusion, but our conclusion, what I remember, Mr. Chiganda and Sheimbuga, we shall get this man. They told us he stays in Kayunga, that gentleman who sold us the land. Mr. Sheimbuga came with some other gentleman who was, these FBI people, who can help us. We go and arrest that man. We bring him to the site physically to show us where he sold to us, what he sold to us. Because we realize there is too much that we need to first agree upon. So much you need to first clear the other group that has come in, clear the woman saying it is their land. They bought it in so many years. She gave us the years, and her soul was also touching. Could see that land should be hers. But again, this man was brighter, was more clever, that guy who sold to us, and went and made titles out of their land, because actually she was waiting for the titles. That man told them, let me go and make the titles. All of a sudden, she saw us coming. She saw us coming with titles saying that it is our land. Yet she was waiting for their titles from that man. So I also felt it's not so fair for us to just go and take up that land when this woman is actually, though she's just a squatter, but we need to first see and see that her bossa, talk to bossa, let bossa come on site, but we have to get him forcefully using security. Come to site and show us the land he sold to us. That's what we wanted. That's what was our conclusion. Sheimbuga, I think, has gotten busy but we wanted to plan that kind of a move. We get that man, bring him to the site when the lady is there to show us this is your land I sold to you and this is not yours. That is what I remember that we had agreed upon by the time we went there. I submit.
Shukran team for the good work. I think we failed to join. Some of us had agreed, but we got busy. I think I was up country, even Hajat Kakumba, so we didn't join, but we thank the team. We should not be so aggressive. That land, we must be careful because one, the 12 years have passed. That makes that lady a bona fide occupant itself already. So we are 3 owners. The lady is there with no documents. We are there. And then you're talking about a third group. So the best person is to bring in Bossa. I hope we continue with what Sheikh Mbuga has. We need to give ourselves immediately, probably after the lockdown, we go in and invest some little money and see if we can get something out of that land. If we could get something and they pay us something, probably for us to recover our 30 million or 20 something, because we paid around 15. If we can get 30, we need to close that deal and do other things. To me, that's my prayer. Let's get the 30 million or 25 close. If that lady was rich, gives us some money, we give her the title. Because it's a bad deal, which we went it, not knowing that Bossa was a con man. Because now he's telling us, why did we do all that? But yet we have been tracking him to go to the land, and he disappeared several years. Now he has the advantage, because since 2008, these are 13 years. Members, I hope you can see. So he has all the advantage on his side. But let's pray for the best. Let's try to do what Sheikh Mbuga said. Other members can, what are their views about this land?
Chair.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Senyonjo, it's okay, you can react.
I think let us push the idea of Sheikh Mbuga. If the worst come to the worst, then we'll resort to that issue with that. But let us push Mr. Sheikh Mbuga to arrest that guy when lockdown eases. That's the best option.
Hajat, who else? Hajat, you wanted, you had reactions on the land. You had a lot of hope. Are you still on, Hajat?
Yes, I'm on, Chairperson. Hello?
Yeah, before we proceed.
Yes, I'm on, Chairperson. Thank you so much, Mr. Sendaula, for the brief and the members. Personally, me, the idea of the Sheikh Mbuga getting a person to, these days it is also not easy because Bossa seems to be very prepared. So for me, I wouldn't want to invest in money and at the end of the day we lose out. I don't know whether it is okay to go back and talk to the lady. Because is the lady claiming that all the land is hers or she has a certain part? Because if she showed us where she stops, then we could sell off the small land that stays away from what she's claiming and probably be able to get the money that we invested.
Actually, the way, can I submit? The way I saw, what she showed us seems to be the entire piece that we also claim for. And that is the same piece that has half of it being taken up by the other group that is coming in. Actually, Bossa was also surprised. Said, which other group? No, those ones. I told them their place is this, and on phone, Bossa could also was surprised actually to hear that the other guys had come and claimed some part of it. And the woman was showing us, of course, there was a new grave, but there was some other old grave that Bossa sold to us that land when the grave was there. It was in, because the other man was saying, one of the villagers, that older man said, this one was buried here in 1980 something. So Bossa says, when I was asking, when Alimba Guzabo, waliwa malalo gonna. But the way the other woman showed us the other one and the other elder said, the village man, that malalo was there, only that maybe first we didn't see it. But Bossa brings in that statement, asoka nababuza natukankanga mwe nze nali nguza abasajja abo basanga kamalala ago. At first we shall say, ha, nafule twagalaba, then twagalaba, kitegeza. I don't go twagalaba, then how did he buy nga tuba kulika amalalo? So it's a tricky thing.
A bit tricky. So even with the people that Sheikh Mbuga is planning to come up with, unless when we know them, but you also know that way people want money these days. You shall get security people, you give them money, you inject in your money, and then they don't even get to the Bossa. Then when they get Bossa, you know, tries to taste like the way you're saying, Mr. Sendaula, and that's it. So for me, I think we can, I don't know, but my feeling is, can we make decision and probably say, okay, we have the titles. If this lady is interested in us, she'll look for us. That is if she wants the titles. And she has to get them at a fee. Or we also say we are pursuing that of Sheikh Mbuga's, getting security people to, you know, to get us Bossa, but consciously, how much money are we injecting in? For me, my opinion is not injecting a lot of money at a video zero.
Okay, thanks Hajat and Mr. Sendala. Mr. Chiganda's hand is up.
Yes, I was saying that
Hajat,
that
unmute,
woman,
let Hajat mute herself.
Yeah, our land is about 3-point-something acres, but that woman claims that her land was big as 8 acres. And that elderly man we were with is one of those people that were conned. He claimed that his land he was given land, but in portions, he couldn't even put it together. So Bossa is just tricky and he knows everything, because before this time, I remember had agreed to give us another space somewhere. And somehow, somewhere, they told us that Bossa was very sick, but he had agreed to give us another land. Now, if he claims that we have not used our land since the time we sold it to us, where does he get that from? When he had also agreed to give us another land and leave this land to this woman. So I don't think investing money in this is really good. We may, but we may not even follow up. And at the end, we remain the losers. We may have the title, but that woman doesn't require it. She doesn't need it. Well, she knows that is her land, because first they bought the taka, the chibanja, and afterwards they were supposed to, they paid some little money. She said that just little money was remaining to complete buying land. So I think we shouldn't put in more, because we still be the losers.
Members, you've heard that if there is any money to put in, if those people can agree that they should benefit if we have sold. If boss allows and we get him and we sell, then they benefit. Otherwise, initial input, we are not in agreement, because we might lose more. But if you can secure the land and it's put on sale, we need Mr. Sheikh Mbuga to have that idea. If we process this deal and it works out, we sell like 40 million, then those people benefit from the money we've got. Otherwise, right now, it seems we are not ready to inject more money. Can we go with that?
Liri ettaka oli omukazi talitunda naye agamba ttaka lye. Kati ffe tulina kukwata Bossa atulage ettaka lyaffe lye yatuguza wona wanaatuwa, otherwise wali tetulinaawo kintu na kimu. Gwe waliwo ne pate ey'okusatu yajjanga nayo netwalako piisi n'omukazi nga yeewuunyiza pate endala eyazze, ne Bossa naye ne yeewuunya ng'agamba yiye ate abo baavuddewa. Aba oli omukazi wera nani namugamba ng'ayogera ebigambo bingi nga tebitegeerekeka ku ssimu. Kitegeeza okutundawo kiri wala nnyo. Tulina kukwata ng'aja tuwagambe oba omukazi atuwaako ka piisi oba nenga Bossa ye omuntu omukulu okukwata tulage ekituufu. Otherwise, wali tetulina.
Mr. Sendaula, people are saying, Mr. Chiganda and Hajat are saying we don't inject money. Katuna ata Bossa nga tetuteeseemu ssente.
Mr. Mukosi, tugenzeyo omulundi ogusembyeyo tutaddemu emitwalo saveya naye bw'oba olaba zitukoledde ki tetufiiriddwa bufiirwa kakati oli bw'abanga asobola otwashuwalinga nti omuntu agenda mumukwata n'amuleeta then asobola otusaba kyatusaba naye situmuga nti kwako ssente genda omukwate kubanga mubuli n'oyo anoonya kukola nga Hajjati bw'agambye n'oyo anoonya kukola naye nze okusinziira ku kyendaba wali oyo omukazi ke kantu kokka kaalina tali wiiringi kavaamu ate tetulina sapooti ya kyalo naye mbeera mujjukire n'ekirala bwe twategeerera nti ettaka eryo lye batulaze eryaffe kyali kitutte ebbanga kubanga bwe twagenda wali obuvubuka bwe bayita Bashiru baatulaganga walala tebaatulaga wali ffe twali tetumanyira kumanya nti tutuuka ku mazzi baatulaganga walala akantu akasongovu katuuka ku muti guli bwe kati bwe batwe baatulaganga tugenda okuddayo tulambule ettaka nga abantu baga nti eri ttaka si lyammwe bwemuba munoonya ttaka lya bosa liriri wansi bwe twatwalayo omusavi if you remember so obulimba bwava dda n'oyo omusajja bwe yatuwanga yasiini nga ne bw'okubisimu tagikwata kaakati ono omukyala ye ke kantu ke bwe bulamu bwe agamba ye ne bbaawe yafa be baagula ettaka eryo zaali acres 8 ne bagenda bamukekejjula okukakkana nga bamulekedde ako kaaliko ndaba nti okuteekamu ssente buli kimu kijja tukyongerayo bwongezi tubanga abagenda mu basamise bwe batyo tebalina solution gye bajja tuwa.
Okay, very interesting. We keep our title. Hajat, what are you saying?
Thank you so much. Nze njagala tubeere nti ekirungi Mudefa tuli basiraamu ate tukkiriza. Waliwo ky'otuuka n'okkiriza n'ogamba kino Katonda alabika teyakitwagaliza. Kati nze mbadde nsaba nti tetweme kwongera ssente kuinjectinga ssente mu ttaka lya mukono. Nga partly tutandika okukkiriza mu bulumi nti omusajja ono yatufera okuva ku beginning. Nga Mr. Kiganda wajja atuwa stories basooka tulaga walala ate ne wayitawo so long ne batulaga another place. Kati bwe tuba tugamba ffe tulina land titles ffe tubeere nazo. Ono omukyala walituuka n'agamba azeetaaga nga tumugamba naye naffe tetuzikuweera bwereere. We are demanding this okuwa titles zino kubanga okuzitukwasa kiraga twagula. But as the moment, as Mudefa tukole conclusion right now, mukono tugitwale nga business gye twakola and it is a loss. Until the opinion yagayinza okwasa opinion y'abantu abalala. Naye nga bwentyo bwe nkitunuulira. Otherwise, like Mr. Kiganda is saying, bakosa ssente ne bagenda wa surveyor, nze nagambye dda tukkirize nti Uganda twagala kukola ssente, not service. So noono gw'onoofuna okukwatira bossa ye ajja kugamba I need this amount of money. Newe twagenda mu office ya RDC era naye twalina okuteekayo ssente mu bbaasa etc. So we keep on injecting naye ng'ate tetulaba we tugenda kuzifuna back. Kati that is my thinking. Obutadda mu meeting buli kaseera, let's put a hold on Mukono land until when this lady looks for us bw'aliba atwetaaze. Tukitwale ng'abasiraamu nti ekyo tukkiriza investment teyaliimu mukisa. Allah teyagitwagaliza.
I support Hajat. Kasa tulina titles zaffe. Tubeere titles zaffe omukazi wali tukaisera banga ayagala omuggula obaani ali tunoonya n'ajja n'akola ki. Ne tunegotiating akweyo stage. Nange kyendaba.
I think I'm in agreement with that. No more expenses. We shall just inform the rest of the members because we are only 6 out of 16. We need support from 3 other members to have 50%. Okay, 2 other members. Hope Kadu will be in support and Shekembuga. If we can get 2 other members, we go with that. No more investment. I think we have invested enough in Mukono and we risk our lives these days with the land. So instead of going with that project, Alhamdulillah, God gave us others. Allah gave us, we have Chira, we have Kachiri. Now I think let's turn on Kakaire. Who can say something about Kakaire? People might need to do other things. And, can you give us a report about Kakaire?
Chair.
Okay, Mr. Senjo can give.
Senyo, Mr. Senyo, can hear from you?
I'm sorry, in the last meeting I made a submission, but in the previous meeting I didn't attend. So I failed because by then there was a decision that was made that I should make sure that Kakaire commits himself in writing, and I didn't attend the meeting, but I've not got that commitment from Mr. Kakaire. But I told him, but it's for us, and I think by the last submission we said that there's a way we can make that submission, but I was trying to find out, but I'm sorry that I failed in that.
Okay.
But I'm yet to get that commitment from Mr. Kakaire because it is now over 2 months since we did that.
Something after the lockdown that Mr. Chiganda, Mr. Senyonjo, Mr. Sendaola, and Baiman, those in Absunsa, you can organize, and we also sort out Kakaire this year. Tumanye obana yo tulikulos, tunonye evidala, we focus on other things so that we move forward. But let's analyze Kakaire concept. Whether nayo ya tuko oninga, tujije mudiro. Otherwise, Mr. Senyenjo work with Mr. Chiganda and Sendaula to sort Kakaire. Mr. Chiganda, your hand is up. Is it on Kakaire or Mukono?
Kakaire. I remember we had planned to write a letter to him. And I was assigned a duty of making a letterhead, which I made. We should write that letter and give it to him. So that everything is in writing. We can use the letterhead I made. I remember we had agreed on that.
Okay, now Hajat, also your hand is up.
Yes,
Hajat
please.
Kakuma, your hand is
Yes.
up.
Yes, I wanted to actually bring in the suggestion which Mr. Chiganda has talked about, that we let us write. Let us not wait for him to write. For us, let us write. We can even be able to use a lawyer because that is not a lot of money. And the letter should come in form of an agreement. This is the so much that we gave you. This is what so far we have received back from you. And this is what we expect from you. He signs, there are 2 witnesses, and then Chair, I don't know who the representative of Mudefa who should do that. So we don't wait for him to write, but we just take that agreement for him to sign with probably witnesses, 1 from Mudefa and 1 from his side. So when he refuses to sign that document, then that is where we can start from. But that is an easy document to make, in my opinion.
So the issue is now one, does Chiganda sit with Abibu, or we want to include a lawyer to make the document?
You can have a lawyer for an device, because that is easy. Mr. Sendaula can have